Hello, I'm your host, Kevin Henry, and this is the first episode of the Kevin Henry Podcast. On this show, we'll be pulling back the curtain on the corruption festering right here in our own backyard of Brazoria County and across this great nation. For far too long, the politicians, bureaucrats, and so-called leaders around the world have made backroom deals, stolen from the people, and abused their power, thinking no one would ever hold them accountable. Well, those days are over. This show exists to shine a blinding light into every dark corner they hoped you would never see. We won't stop at Brazoria County. Corruption isn't just local, it's national. And the same systems stealing from you here are operating all across America. That's why we'll be bringing on hard-hitting guests, real insiders, whistleblowers, and experts who will expose how national corruption is bleeding into our own backyard. We're not bought, we're not intimidated, and we're not going away. This is your county, this is your country, and the fight to take it back starts right now. Let's go.
No one is above the law. The people have had enough. We will root out the criminals and expose them all. We're fighting to expose the criminal element in Texas. Our investigation in the Brazoria County's justice system has just begun.
And now, your host, Kevin Henry.
Most people never think twice about school bonds. But what if I told you bonds are being used like a blank check to artificially inflate your property taxes without your consent? Today, we're joined by someone who's been digging into the numbers and raising red flags about how your tax dollars are being calculated. Jeff Mashburn is a longtime taxpayer advocate, and today he's with us pulling back the curtain on school bond abuse and government fraud right here in Brazoria County. Welcome, Jeff.
Well, it's glad to join up with you, Kevin, and be here today. And I'm going to be able to help you share some good information to the taxpayers.
And can you tell us your background and how you how this came to your attention, the school bonds and all the stuff that's going on with the property taxes and whatnot?
So I've been involved with school districts going back to the mid 1990s as a contractor and an energy contractor doing projects with schools, and not only at the school level, but school, state, and city level as well. Because of that, and my experience and my background in that industry, discovered major fraud, major abuse with taxpayer money, seeing that school districts were obligating to taxpayers to hundreds of millions of dollars of contracts in the state of Texas with these energy contracts that are done under some special financing that the legislators passed years ago under the guise of energy conservation. These are huge multi-million-dollar projects that are financed off balance sheet using long-term lease purchase agreements that are hidden from the taxpayer. It doesn't show up as a line item. It doesn't show up anywhere. It's totally off balance. Nobody even knows it's going on, and taxpayers have no voice in what school districts are doing. And because of that and what's going on even currently with the U.S. Justice Department investigating this in Texas as we speak, open the doors to other areas, including school bond fraud.
So you said that the school districts are operating outside the state law the last time we spoke. Can you tell us exactly how that's happening or what law they're operating outside of?
School districts are regulated by the Texas Education Agency, and there are statutes that they're to follow. Two chapters of those statutes are Chapter 44 and Chapter 45 of the TEA Code. School districts are supposed to inform taxpayers of debt obligations, especially when it comes to bonds. School districts have violated those statutes with these energy contracts that I was part of for years and years. I mean, literally decades, because they finance them using off-balance sheet long-term lease purchase agreements. Violates the Texas state constitution. You can't hide debt from the taxpayer. And that is what's come out down in the Rio Grande Valley. with school district down there that's been currently investigated, still going on at La Jolla ISD, which has been known to have major issues. But that happens all across Texas. So they're operating outside the boundaries. Regarding school district bonds and bond issues and bond fraud, they're violating a key statute in Chapter 45, which caps bond rates at 25% of the existing aggregate debt the school district has. And they can play semantics with you all day long, but the statute and the purpose of that statute is to be a stopgap or a circuit breaker to prevent school districts from piling on debt on top of debt on top of debt.
The school districts are asking for way over this 25%.
And they've been violating that rule for a long time. I mean, to this day, there are school districts, including where you're at, that have put forth bonds that exceed that 25% cap rule.
So, yeah, I noticed after you told me that, I went back and crunched the numbers, and if my math is mathing, for a $167 million bond at Brazosport Independent School District here locally, and that would be 52% of their debt. So they're going over twice as much, actually. So how do you figure they're getting away with this?
So there's two sides of the coin as far as the problem. Number one, it is taxpayers not doing their job and their due diligence as citizens and being responsible as taxpayers and just letting them get away with it. People have just let it slide for years and years until the problem has ballooned to such a huge problem. The debts can't be repaid. The bonds are not being paid off. They can't even make interest payments on some of these bonds without raising new bonds to make interest payments on old bonds. You might say the police, the people that are supposed to monitor this and regulate this, are asleep at the wheel in Texas. And as you and I have talked about before, and if Pete wants to pull this up, maybe this is a good time to pull this website up. But the Texas Bond Review Board has a website. They're an entity within the state of Texas that monitors bonds and how much bond debt's issued. The difference between what their numbers show and what the Texas Education Agency shows on their website as part of the Foundation School Program. So this site he's got up here right now, the Texas BRB site, you can pull up any school district in the state of Texas today and find out what they're telling you the existing bond debt is. That number differs greatly from what the Texas Education Agency says.
So the Texas Education Agency is the one that shows the higher number? Like, for instance, in the BISD debt, there's two different numbers that I was looking at. There's a $331 million debt, and then the other one is like $550 million.
Yeah. So if you go to this website right here and scroll down and enter in Brazosport ISD in that search engine right there, little search box, type in Brazosport ISD. You will see the number you're looking at, and you've been told, Kevin, of 300 and I think what is it, 319.
Yeah.
You go to the Texas Foundation website and search it, and it's 549 million. That's some pretty significant.
Where do we find that website? Producer Pete, do you have that one available?
Yeah, Pete's got that one as well, and I can walk you to that one real easy.
So this one's got 319 million for BISD.
Yeah, and the other one, Pete, is the School Foundation Program link, and this is raising major red flags with taxpayers right now. There you go. So in that box right there, you can click on that drop down right there, Pete, and we'll pull up Brazosport right here. There's a little arrow.
What website is this, Jeff?
This is the Foundation School Program that's under the TEA, the Texas Education Agency. This is a great thing for taxpayers to know how to go look this up themselves. And okay, so Pete, it's called the Existing Debt Allotment Eligible Debt Service Report, and you can select that report. It's going to ask you for the school year, and let's say we're going to look for the 2024-2025 school year. And then you're going to type in Brazosport ISD. And you're going to get another drop down. It's going to list 3 reports. In the bottom report, there's going to be a spreadsheet that's going to come up. And at the bottom of that spreadsheet, the first column to the left, amount sold or debt issued is $549,170,000.
So that's at the bottom left corner.
Yeah, that bottom left corner.
So that is greatly different from the 300. What was it? 19 million.
Yeah.
So which one's the real number? How much debt do they actually have?
Well, I would say we're believing it's the Texas Education Agency's website, and I'll tell you why. So before we got on the call to do this podcast, I went to Brazoria County CAD. Brazoria County CAD in their data uses this sheet that we're looking at right here. So the 549 million is the number your CAD is using for debt for the school district.
And so they're going way over the 25% when they're asking for another $167 million for this bond referendum.
So, 167 of the 319 is like you came up with 52%, but the 25% of 549 allows them.
Oh, you're right. Yep. I had the number backwards. So it allows them more proposal.
Yeah. So it's really important to pay attention because the bigger the number, the bigger the bond they can take. Even at 25%, it's still a bigger number, right?
Right.
So it's a game. It's all smoke and mirrors. I mean, they pitch these bonds. They don't tell you all the truth about everything, especially on the existing bond debt. And the existing bond debt, people have got to realize that's just the principal. That's not the interest on that debt. There is interest on that debt. And the interest is what's got a lot of school districts in trouble right now everywhere in Texas. They can't even make interest payments on the debt that they've issued in many districts.
If you don't mind, could you explain to the viewers that are listening that they're probably not even paying any part of the principal, like little to no part of the principal from the last bond that was passed, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And part of the problem with that is for taxpayers, if there's a school district that has bonds that are maturing that were issued 10 years ago for a program, a bond package that was done 10 years ago to build a school, and those bonds were issued at 2% interest rate, and they're mature and you got to refinance, you're refinancing at 6.25%, 6.5% today. Well, that $50 million school you built 10 years ago now is going to cost you $150 million.
Substantially more. As a homeowner that doesn't pay attention to these bonds very much, that you're so busy working to pay the bills and hopefully you have a little bit of money left over at the end of the bills. What does this mean to you in plain English as a homeowner in Brazoria County?
As taxpayers, we are loaning the school district. We are really the creditor. We are loaning the taxpayer money, the school district money. We're putting our homes up as collateral. And so you have a middleman, you have the bond management company who's managing the bond portfolio who are financing these projects, and they're collecting the interest. It is a Ponzi scheme on the taxpayer.
What's so juicy in those documents that they're trying to hide?
What they're trying to hide from you is the fact that they haven't retired the debt within a reasonable amount of time. They're refinancing old bond debt into new bond money at higher interest rates. And there are tracking numbers called QSIPs that are assigned to bonds. We are asking for these bonds of the QSIP numbers and the whole history of what they've done, and we're not getting it, just like you aren't getting it. And what they're afraid is going to come out is they have mixed bonds. Instead of tracking the bonds all the way through from the time they were initially issued to the time they matured within a bond program, they're doing what we call rolling up and rolling out the bond debt, just like the federal government does to us. It's the same thing they're doing. And when they come back to us as taxpayers asking for more money by passing bonds, it's almost like the federal government printing money, right?
Yes.
It's
so
almost
what you're saying is they're borrowing more money and they're having to go extend the term length of the loan, right? Basically, right? So
Right.
then they're extending the term length, and then they're actually going up in the interest rate too.
Going up in interest rates, which makes all the projects that you initially had under a previous bond program just got more expensive. Your old worn out school building now is more expensive,
Right.
right? Or as it ages.
Yeah. So then mom and pop are worried about how they're going to be able to make their next house payment if they're on a fixed income and
Right.
everything's going up around them. What's that mean for the people that invest in bonds, school bonds themselves? Where are we going with that? If this looks like there's a bubble that's surely going to pop somewhere, what's that mean for the school bond holders?
Investors that have invested in school bonds in Texas should be very nervous right now, because literally this whole thing is going to cave in on itself, because these bond investors, they're going to take a 70-80% haircut on their bonds. And this Austin and everybody that's trying to sweep this under the carpet, don't want to come out, knows, I believe, understands what could happen. They're trying to keep it out of the public eye. And it is a serious issue from a financial standpoint and legal standpoint. There's no way on God's green earth that some of these bonds will ever be paid back in the state of Texas. There is not enough money in the economy and at the local level from homeowners that are ever going to repay some of this debt.
That's scary. That's absolutely scary.
Yeah.
But we got to pay the bills around here. Speaking of debt. So if you don't mind, let's take a break and let's hear a word from our sponsors, and we will be right back. Thank you so much.
You bet.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Boat season's here. Is your ride ready? At Liquid Rides in Brazoria, we don't just service boats, we elevate them. From certified marine repairs to full engine builds, our expert mechanics are fully certified and factory trained. We're your trusted Mercury Marine and PCM dealer, keeping your boat running smooth all year long. And it doesn't stop at the water. We build custom stereo systems for your boat, vehicle, Jeep, and side-by-side that'll blow the roof off and turn heads anywhere you go. From high-performance marine work, electronics and rigging, to next-level audio installs, Liquid Rides is the Gulf Coast go-to for everything loud, clean, and dialed in. Call today, 979-798-0123. Liquid Rides, custom audio, certified performance, built in Texas. Need a barn that's built to last and made right here in Texas? Call Stuckey Barns in Brazoria County, where quality craftsmanship meets rugged durability. From custom barns to metal buildings, they bring your vision to life with Texas pride and hometown service. Call today, 979-236-7771. Stuckey Barns, built strong, built local, built for Texas. Looking for bold, high-quality ink? Seven Souls Tattoo Studio has you covered, literally. Located at 20 Circle Way in Lake Jackson, they're dedicated to cleanliness, professionalism, and unforgettable tattoo experiences. Their expert artists guide you through the entire process, ensuring your vision comes to life with precision and creativity. Need a cover-up? No problem. They specialize in turning old ink into stunning new art. Call today, 979-871-9115, or stop by Seven Souls Tattoo Parlor today, where precision meets perfection and every tattoo tells a story.
And now, back to the Kevin Henry Podcast.
And we're back with Jeff Mashburn from the Texas Conservative Alliance, and we're discussing bonds and the debt that we're accruing from these bonds. Jeff, what's the oversight on these bonds? Who's signing off? Who's the ultimate sign-off?
So that's a good question, Kevin, and the answer to that is going to surprise a lot of people. Signature line for all debt issued in the state of Texas at any level, school, city, county, state, is no other than Ken Paxton, our Attorney General. And that is stated in Chapter 45 of the Texas Education Agency Code. Now, we've called him out and we've asked questions. We've submitted inquiries and requests for him to get involved with some issues we're dealing with districts on their bonds, and it's been silent to date.
In Brazoria County, we're trying to get public information on these bonds to find out where the money is going and the bond debt that's been accrued in previous bond referendum packages. We're not getting anywhere. You said you're not getting anywhere. I've talked to people all over the state. How can you hide public information and it's our taxpayer money?
Well, they're refusing to cooperate with taxpayers, which is criminal under law. They can't hide it from you. They're supposed to disclose all debt, their records that they spent the money wisely. So as taxpayers, because we've not had cooperation at any level, the school district level, the local law enforcement level, county sheriff level, and even the DA in Hill County has refused to do his job. Other taxpayers are having the same issues across Texas and even in other states. We're talking with taxpayers from other states who are running into the same problem.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I'm pretty sure everybody wants to know where these huge sums of money are going.
Exactly.
And how much of it is left over at the end of the bond and how much in debt we're in. How can this be sustainable in Texas as a homeowner when your house is the collateral for these bonds? Right. They're going to have to evaluate these homes 200 and 300% over what they're at now to be able to pay these new bonds that they're passing.
So when we talk to people and we're trying to explain this to them, a lot of people look at us like we're crazy. But the tables we put together to explain to people how bad this is, and just to give you an example, Aledo, Texas, which is west of Fort Worth, their existing bond debt, you take their existing bond debt and you divide it by the number of households in that district, each household is sitting at like a $343,000 of bond debt for their school district per household. Now think about that. What's your house worth? $400,000? Your bond debt, your part of the bond debt for the school system is approaching the value of your home.
Wow.
So if you take that and put that $343,000 into an amortization schedule at 30 years and at 6.5% interest rate, like we're used to doing for our home mortgages, and look at it that way, their monthly payment is $2,351 a month. A month. How can you afford that? There are a lot of houses in the school district that pay zero taxes because in Austin, they're putting forth bills to increase the homestead exemptions from $100,000. We've heard $140,000, we've heard $160,000, as high as $200,000 from Dan Patrick. So think about that for a minute. If you go from $100,000 to $200,000, what happens to the tax base and the available money to the school district? It goes away.
Yep.
So those people that are going to be exempt and pay zero taxes, that burden is going to shift to somebody else. And
so there's going to be a very substantial jump in our property values at that point as well. The ones that are over the 200,000 or 140,
yep.
Because you're left holding the bag to pay for all the people that got out of it. Yep. Which, I mean, good for them. I like to see people get out of any kind of property tax. It should be eliminated completely. But all we're doing is left holding the bag, the people that have a little bit more expensive house, to pay for all this debt, because the debt's not going away. It's just getting relocated.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. So because of the bond debt that they got to pay for and the budgets, not just the bond debt, it's also the operating budgets of these school districts. In order to make those budgets, the CAD, and a lot of people don't understand that, the Central Appraisal District does not set the tax rate. Okay? The school district sets the tax rate. The school district are the one who sets their budget. The city, the county sets their budget. When those budgets are put forth to the county, the CAD is mandated by law to fund that budget. Well, they don't have much to work with. They either got to work on property valuation, market values, or tax rates per 100.
And what's that magic word? They say this is not a property. This is not
tax rate.
This is not a tax increase, I believe. But what it is it's a property valuation increase because something's got to give.
Yeah,
Your taxes, the tax goes up or the property value goes up. Either way, it's the same outcome.
yeah. So in the state of Texas right now, across the state, there are billboards up, there are signs up at district that say this is not a property tax rate increase. That might be a true statement, but there is a property tax increase coming. Are you going to pay more property taxes? Chapter 45 of the TEA code specifically says all the signage and all the advertisement and everything about a bond has to include the words, this is a property tax increase, period. And they're violating that statute as well. They're trying to hide it, and they're trying to throw you off track of what's really going on.
So generally speaking, this sounds like waste, fraud, and abuse across all levels of government. Have you tried to escalate this up to the federal level?
Yes. So I've been involved with the federal level and what's going on in the Valley for quite a while now, since 2019. It actually goes back to 2006, 2007, when I first talked to FBI investigators to try to expose the fraud with the energy contracts. But with the bonds, because of what's going on in bonds and the lack of response by our state leaders, our state reps who are asleep at the wheel, will not respond to our request or our concerns, we've started filing criminal complaints to the DOJ and the SEC. So I've filed 3. We filed with Pam Bondi to her office. We filed with the SEC.
Who can file, and how long does it take to file?
Any taxpayer who's in a school district that's committing fraud by breaking the 25% cap rule, which is everywhere. If you're in a school district today and your school board put a bond program for a referendum to vote on May the 3rd that exceeds 25% of the existing bond debt, they are in violation of the law and the statute. You can file a criminal complaint today. It takes literally less than a half an hour. We've created documents that are on my website at commonsenselaw.org. You can download.
Sir Pete, can we put that website up, please?
There you go. So go down to the bottom of that table you're at there, Pete. I think it's, go down to the bottom of the table. There's a line that says the short version, criminal complaint short version. So my criminal complaint and Mitch's criminal complaints are very long because there's a lot of issues that we're filing against. There you go. I think you're the second from the bottom link. I think it's the short version. We took the criminal complaint that we filed, which are like 40, 45 pages or so, and I took that and broke it down into a 5-page document based on a single issue, violation of the 25% cap rule. So any taxpayer can do this themselves. It's very easy. It's an easy thing to do. You can take one of our complaints and follow kind of how we did it. But there is, at the top of this website, there's a link to a document called the Roadmap to Defeat Bonds in Texas. And in that document, there are links that will take you to the Texas Bond Review Board, the School Foundation Program to find out what your existing bond debts are in your district as they're reported by those 2 agencies. There's a link to get a copy of Chapter 45. There's literally 5 or 6 documents you need, exhibits, and the criminal complaint, put it together, and you can file this yourself.
And they can get it all right there from your website, and then download those documents, and then follow you, and then file it with the Department of Justice, right?
Yeah. Now the page he's got up right there, I'm looking at, the difference is in the 2 numbers between the BRB numbers and the Texas School Foundation Program. And down there at the bottom in a box, it says the difference, the delta between the BRB number and the FSP, the Foundation School Program numbers of a bond debt. And this is just 28 school districts that we've done so far. That table is fixing to get edited and updated. But in just those districts, it's just short of $24 billion difference in the bond amounts. Who's right? Who really knows what's going on? Now, in that sheet, that spreadsheet, the red column is another interesting column that taxpayers should be interested in. And that's the school districts that are reporting operating deficits, annual operating deficits, shortfalls in their budgets. So if you got school districts with their hand out for more bond money and existing bond debt, and they can't even make their annual operating budget, they're operating in the red. Why are these school districts even allowed to open the doors? That's been a huge question people are asking now. They should literally be shut down, and you should file Chapter 9 bankruptcy because they're insolvent.
That's what would happen to me and you as a consumer and as a taxpayer. So
Exactly.
school districts get open-ended checkbooks because they get to use our homes as collateral. So if we stop paying our taxes, then they get to go through the sheriff's sell your home, evict you, sell your home, and then they got their money again. So
some money. Yeah.
Some money, yeah.
They can steal your property because of their immoral acts, unethical acts, criminal acts against the taxpayer.
What's the significance of this bond debt? What does that mean to us ultimately when the bubble pops? Because it's got to pop. I can't tell you how many 20-something-year-olds just simply cannot go purchase, they can live the American dream and purchase their first home. And it's mainly, you can tie it all back to this bond debt and this overvaluation of property values.
You're right on target there. I mean, our young people, and I feel for our young people, I feel for my children and my grandchildren until this is fixed. And it's going to get fixed one way or the other. Either they're going to fix it and get ahead of this, or they're going to let it implode and the whole financial system is going to collapse to the point it's going to be horrible for everybody. A lot of our generation has sat on the sideline, their head buried in the sand and letting this go on forever. And taxpayers have a lot of the blame to carry here because we haven't done our jobs holding our elected officials accountable. We also have a lot of elected officials who are clueless, have no idea what they're doing. I mean, what's going on in Austin, Texas right now is a circus, is a three-ring circus. You've got leaders fighting with each other so they can win political battles and victories that I got my agenda passed, so I'm going to look good, while the taxpayers are losing everything.
One thing that we have not talked about yet, Jeff, and the most important part of this is we have to tell everybody to get off the couch and go vote these school bonds down.
Yes.
Tell their parents, tell their brothers, their sisters, their cousins, load up your vehicle and go to the polls and go vote these things down. We have a big bond at BISD right now in Brazoria County for $167 million, and they're already over $300,000 in debt, maybe $550, depending on which number you look at. And they're asking for way over the 25% cap rate that they're supposed to be falling in guidelines with. So May the 3rd is the day that we have to get these people off the couch, get to the polls, and vote no on these bonds. You're not hurting the kids. You're hurting everybody in the county if you continue to vote for these school bonds. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the things that we're working on right now is we're trying to get in front of a state judge in order to put an order forth to stop the bond elections on May 3rd. Now, we don't know if we're going to get this done across the state as the state as a whole because of what's going on, or at least in certain counties where the bond debt's in way more than even people can even imagine, and shut those bonds down because if they shut the bonds down in May 3rd until investigators can go out and do a forensic audit with a certified fraud examiner like the SEC has done with Crosby and exposed everything they were doing. If that happens, it'll be a long time probably before some school districts are ever going to get open again because they're going to find stuff that's going to scare people to death. But if they put the bonds on hold May 3rd, school districts have another opportunity to pass a bond in November. So, yeah, if you delay it 6 months until taxpayers have a chance to, and investigators have a chance to figure out what's really going on. So that's what we need to do.
The problem, I think there's a major problem with it's not a presidential election. So there's a lot of people that won't go to the polls because they're not in there voting for a president. This is a very, in the voters' minds, this is the last thing they care about right now. They probably
Yeah.
have voters
Well,
fatigue from having to go through, all the, the last 2 years of a presidential campaign and all these campaign ads on TV. And then they sneak this major bond referendum vote in after everybody's sick of going to the polls. And then the school districts basically have a huge block voting system because they want that bond. They want whatever spending that they're promised that they're going to get in that school district, and these brand new football stadiums that are crazy expensive, and these brand new basketball. I mean, everything is getting out of hand with bigger is better and all that, right? So
yeah.
they sneak these bond referendums on the ballot when nobody goes to the polls, and then but the block voters do. The block voters always do. They show up.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, in our little rural area where I live, we have a town of 1,550 people. Now I live in a rural and incorporated area, so I'm not within the city limits. We had 152 people showed up at the last bond election in 2022. 152. We voted it. We got it voted down 3-1. I mean, we worked hard at getting the word out. We believe we're going to have this one voted down if it actually makes it to vote. But some of the things that taxpayers need to understand how these school districts and how their mind work to deceive you. We have early voting going on right now, from started last Tuesday to this coming Tuesday. Then you have a 3-day break, and then you have May 3rd. Well, guess what's going to happen to most people? They're going to go to sleep at night, and they're going to totally forget that there's a bond on May 3rd. They're going to make plans. They're going to go to the lake. They're going to go to a football game or whatever it is, and they don't show up.
But we're not going to let that happen. We have to tell everybody to hit share on this post, like it, subscribe to our channels, get the word out that May 3rd is the day that we either go in a huge off the cliff bond referendum vote, or we vote it down and we show that the people have more power than the power that's in that office. So we need to get the people involved. We need the people to understand that these people on these school boards, I think the BISD superintendent makes over $350,000 a year, and he's out promoting this school bond like it's the next best thing. I mean, you have to have it. It's for the kids, right? So they're out there promoting this thing like snake oil salesmen, and what it's doing is it's pushing mom and pop and everybody out of their homes to where you cannot afford to buy or live in a house anymore in Brazoria County or anywhere else in the state of Texas.
Now,
this bond debt.
Back to your point you just made about a superintendent doing that, there are rules and regulations. A school board superintendent and school board members cannot persuade the voter yes or no. They can only present the facts. And they are breaking those rules right and left. They're getting out there, we're doing this for the kids, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard it. There's a famous quote, and I don't know if I shared this with you or not, but it's up on my website by Thomas Paine that applies very much to public education. The greatest tyrannies are always perpetuated in the name of the noblest causes. They'll use whatever they can to play on your emotions and your feelings.
For the kids, right? It's for the kids.
Yeah.
How do you tell the kids no, Jeff?
Yeah.
Maybe when you don't have a house to bring them home to, right?
Exactly. So there's quite a few people are waking up, and thank God we've got a lot more people getting on board. And you had asked me earlier about, or the question was about how I got involved and why I'm concerned about bonds and in the school and all. I get attacked a lot verbally because they say, "Well, Jeff, you're against the kids in the in education." You will never have ever heard me ever say I'm ever against education. Education is vital. It needs to be the right education.
Correct.
It needs to be accountable. It needs to be worthwhile and have a value. And so education important. I'm a father. I have 4 children. We homeschooled all of our children. We educated them. We paid for their education. We clothed them. We fed them. We kept them safe. And yet we're penalized by the system and have to pay the taxes. And they're telling us we don't have a vote or we don't have a voice. This fight's not over.
It's absolutely insane. We had a a big meeting a couple of years ago, and we packed about 600 people into a hall that were fed up with property taxes. And we tried to explain to the best of our ability what we can do as a whole, as a a taxpaying citizen in Brazoria County. And we probably could have done it a little better. We did it on a whim. We hurried up and rushed this thing together. Now I know a lot more people such as yourself that are very well not versed in all this knowledge of how to fight the system, how fraudulent it is. And I think had we had somebody like yourself that could explain it better, we'd have been a little bit better prepared today for this bond that they're about to pass. But our call to action for all of this is to get involved, is to go to your website. Can you give us your socials and your website and all your information that we can get people actively involved in what you're doing?
Right. I mean, yeah, they can go to the website commonsenselaw.org and see what we're doing, what we have done. And there's links there to a lot of other videos. There's links there to a lot of documents, to Mitch's website, mockingbirdproperties.com. They can sign his petition that's before the courts right now.
Yes.
We need signatures to get behind him. Yeah.
So go to Mockingbird Properties.
Everybody needs
and sign Mitch's petition. So Mockingbird Properties.
Yeah, there's a link.
And then your website is commonsenselaw.org.
.org. Yeah.
We have to get off the couch and go vote May the 3rd. Vote no on the bonds, or you will see a property value increase.
And if we can end on a funny note, we try to be a little bit on I say a funny note, but it's a serious issue, but it's kind of a funny story. I tell this to people and they just look at me like I'm crazy. So myself and a lot of others, and I have asked this question in the state of Texas for 18 years. How much does it cost to educate a fifth grader in the state of Texas? And that question has never been answered by a school official to this day. We have we made every effort to work with school people to try to figure out how they're spending their money, because part of the bond issue, no matter how much you give anybody, government, especially any government entity, federal, state, city, there's a word we don't use enough that's missing in what we talk about and discuss. And it's efficiency of the money they have. The efficiency is gone to pieces. There is no efficiency.
As soon as they get the money, they spend it.
Yeah. So every dollar that's gone through a government system, that's recycled through the government system versus the private sector, very few cents of that dollar ever turn into real tangible, something tangible.
Wow. So
efficiency is a part of this thing that's missing. So we've asked the question to school superintendents, our school superintendent in Itasca, for a breakdown of documents to prove the budget, the annual budget that they put forth and adopted. How did you come up with the numbers for your budget that you're presenting to the CAD to fund? Raise our taxes, our property valuations, or our tax to fund your budget. How did you get that number? I put together an Excel file that I passed around and shared with a lot of people that's pre-K through the 12th grade. And we made it real simple for them. We asked them for the number of kids in each grade level, the cost of the teacher's salaries and benefits, and the cost of the curriculum, the reoccurring cost of curriculum, not computers and not all that stuff, just the simple stuff. We have not gotten it yet from a single school district.
Surprise. It's for the kids.
Yeah.
I hope to have you back on soon. And I want to discuss your knowledge on what they're doing with this money once they get it. Because you hipped me to some stuff that's mind-blowing as far as where this money is going and how they're using it, how they're allocating funds.
You're in an interesting district in itself, and I've talked about this when we first met with each other. You have another issue in your district that's a huge district in our district that's another federal case and a federal investigation, and that's with the solar farm agreements and the Chapter 313 agreements.
Can't wait.
And that
back on and talk about that.
That gets people really riled up.
Yes, absolutely. So they get the school bond money, and then they go and get duped into spending it on that way too. So I'm going to save that for the next episode. I hope to have you back on.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much for being on the front lines of this fight. It is absolutely peril that we get involved and that we get off the couches, we get our friends and family involved, and we go vote no on these school bonds. They will absolutely raise your taxes. They will absolutely bankrupt many, many people. And you will be seeing a lot of foreclosures a lot more foreclosures if this waste, fraud, and abuse continues with the bond issues.
Well, thanks for having me, Kevin. And it's a pleasure and a joy to work with people of like minds that want to expose and stop this and get things turned around. And I'm just glad to be a part of it.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next Thursday, we will be pulling back the curtain on child sexual assaults in Brazoria County and the district attorney's failure to prosecute such horrible crimes. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe. We'll see y'all soon. Looking for real coverage from real people? Go see Landra Olson's team at Farmers Insurance in West Columbia, Texas, where hometown service meets top-rated protection. Whether it's your home, car, or business, Landra's team treats you like family and fights to get you the coverage you need. Call 979-345-4479 today. Landra Olson Farmers Insurance, local, trusted, on your side in West Columbia. Spring's here, and it's time to get those flower beds and gardens in shape. Rifles Feed and Supply in Brazoria has the soil, mulch, and everything you need to make your yard pop. Plus, the best feed, seed, and supplies for your animals, too. Call now, 979-798-2909. Rifles Feed and Supply. Grow it, feed it, love it, right here in Brazoria County. Fentanyl is taking lives every day, but knowledge can save them. Travis's Voice is dedicated to raising awareness, educating communities, and preventing future tragedies. In honor of the lives lost, we use our voice to fight for change. Together we can stop this epidemic. To learn more, go to travis'svoice.org.